results and with the performance as well. I think we never got the consistency in many areas to completely dominate the game. We always had the feeling that, we had the ball, we had possession, we went in front twice, but the game wasn't grabbed, it wasn't dominated and controlled in the way that we normally do, because we were below the standards in some areas.
Are you now a little bit concerned about maybe what's behind and trying to stay in second?
We always look, because we know how tough it is to win football matches in the Premier League, and especially with the amount of numbers and the amount of games that we have, we're going to have to be really good in both competition to earn the right to be where we want to end up.
I think he'd be furious tonight, Mikel Arteta, because they'd be fine in terms of qualifying for the Champions League. The point being is, you want to put that to bed as early as you can. Now, when you look at the fixtures, I think they've got Bournemouth, which is not an easy game at home, but that's in between the two biggest games of the season. Now, if you win tonight, you can almost write the Bournemouth game off and you change the whole team. I don't think he's in a position to do that, because what comes next, Liverpool away. So if you put a really weakened team out against Bournemouth, which I think he would have wanted to do, to really go for this Champions League final, and you lose the game, and then you go to Anfield, and there's a good chance you're probably going to lose at Liverpool on the back of playing PSG. Liverpool are at home with a free week. If you lose the next two games, the others are a point or two behind you. And then you go and, you've got Newcastle.
And then Newcastle becomes a crunch game, doesn't it?
Exactly. So that's why I think he'd be furious. You just don't want that sort of thing. You know, you're looking behind, you're looking over your shoulder. I mean, I've just looked at the stats then. You can't believe, when you look at obviously the 6 points ahead of City. City have had an awful season by their standards. They've won the same amount of games in the Premier League. They've both won 18. You can't believe that.
So, only a point, Nick, needed for Liverpool against Tottenham on Sunday to win the title. I mean, you'd assume they're going to get it. They'd much prefer it that way, wouldn't they? At home, in front of their fans, instead of just waiting to see if Arsenal lost and then it's done and wrapped up, isn't it? How have Liverpool fared against Spurs this season, though, if they want to secure the title?
Well, I think you're right. It is the ideal scenario for them now, isn't it? You always want to win these things in front of your fans, have that opportunity to celebrate with them, and it's set up perfectly now for them now, isn't it? Knowing that they can draw, and that would be enough. But in terms of their opponents, Spurs, I think they will have confidence given what we've seen between the two sides this season. So here we have the head-to-head record between Liverpool and Spurs this season. Now, Spurs have beaten Liverpool once. They beat them in the first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final 1-0. But the other two games were very much Liverpool wins, weren't they? Liverpool came back to win 4-0 in the second leg of that semi-final. They also beat them 6-3 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium earlier this season. And the rest of these stats here really highlight their superiority over these games. So 10 goals scored by Liverpool to Tottenham's 4. They've had 64 shots in these 3 games compared to Tottenham's 23. 29 shots on target, which is quite an incredible total, isn't it, from Liverpool, and 1 clean sheet apiece for the two sides. But I think Liverpool can be very confident going into this game. Spurs, obviously, with a bit of focus on the Europa League as well for them in what looks like a more important competition for the club now.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been lots of talk about Liverpool limping their way to the title. But, I mean, they've won 6 and drawn 1 of the last 7 league games. There's been a drop-off in key stats from earlier this season, has there?
Yeah, there has been a bit of talk about a drop-off, hasn't there? But when we look at the stats, we really don't see much evidence of it. As you mentioned, Hayley, their recent results have been good. OK, maybe they haven't been at their free-flowing best in all of these games. But if we compare their first 16 games of the Premier League season to their last 16, so these are the most recent 17, I should say, so 1 more game. We see that the numbers are remarkably similar, aren't they? So points, goals scored, goals against, there's very little difference in these 2 columns, as you can see. The exact same number of clean sheets in the first and second half of the season. Now, Liverpool have actually taken more shots in the second half of the season than they took in the first half of the season, and they've faced fewer as well. So that suggests their sort of attacking and defending has improved, if anything. Expected goals we see next on the list. Again, very, very similar figure. It's interesting to look at their distance covered per game at the bottom there as well. You know, are they tiring? Have we seen evidence of fatigue? Well, in terms of the numbers, there hasn't been much of a drop-off, has there? 108.4 kilometres per game previously. That's at 107.4 kilometres in the last 17 games. So I think the talk of a drop-off has maybe been overplayed slightly. Liverpool still picking up results and still generally performing pretty well as well.
Yeah, consistency is what we can see here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously, big shoes for Arne Slot to step into following Jurgen Klopp into Anfield. We all wondered how on earth he was going to do it. I mean, he's done some job. If we compare the top three's records between now and a year ago, then, Nick.
Yeah, so that's what we have here. So we have the top three and we have their points total now in this column here. Then we have their points total at the same stage of last season in this column here. So as you can see, Liverpool are 5 points better off than they were at the same stage of last season. So there has been improvement. Now, of course, they have benefited from their rivals dropping off. So Arsenal are actually 10 points worse off than they were last season at this stage. Man City 18 points worse off. But I think you have to give credit to Liverpool even so. They're averaging 2.4 points per game under Slot. So, I mean, even if Arsenal and Man City hadn't dropped off, I think they may well have struggled to keep pace with Liverpool. They are on course for a 90-point season under Slot. In the end, they're not going to need 90 points, aren't they? Are they? It's going to take a lot less for them to clinch the title. But it just shows you how good they have been. Yes, their rivals have dropped off, but Liverpool have set a ferocious pace and they are well deserving of what's coming their way.
Are Liverpool playing Tottenham at the perfect time, do we think, right now? They obviously take on Bodo Glimt in the first leg of the Europa League semi-final. That's next Thursday.
Well, we did see a drop-off from Spurs, didn't we, after the Frankfurt game? They obviously had a fantastic result out in Germany to clinch their place in the semi-finals. They then returned to the Premier League, lost at home to Nottingham Forest. So that did show the difference between the two competitions. Can they maintain their focus? That's the challenge for them. They do have longer to recover this time. They have 6 days rather than 4 days. But they are going to have to maintain their focus. It looks like a good time for Liverpool to play them.
Okay, for now, thank you. OK, so again, Nick Wright with us to go through all of the stats and look and really pick up on that there. Arsenal dropping points from winning positions yet again this season. It's a theme, isn't it?
It has become a real theme of their season and a real source of frustration as well. So we're going to see some stats now around these draws, around these points they've dropped, and we'll start here with the number of draws. So 13 draws from Arsenal in the Premier League this season. As you can see, the second highest total in the division behind only Everton. Now, they've only lost 3 games, which is only 1 game less than Liverpool. But these draws have been really costly, and we've seen it time and time again, haven't we, in terms of them dropping points when they've been in good positions. So we'll hopefully show you another graphic which shows you that. So here we have it, 9 draws in the Premier League by Arsenal this season from positions where they have been winning. So that's the most by a team in the Premier League since Spurs way back in 2007-08. So it is a really unwelcome theme for Mikel Arteta this season. And we can see how it compares to previous seasons under Arteta, and we see that it's a real increase, isn't it? So this is the number of points dropped from winning positions by Arsenal in Premier League seasons under Mikel Arteta, and as you can see this season the total stands at 18, so that's the 14th, puts them 14th in the Premier League. Now that's a big increase from previous years under Arteta when they dropped between 8 and 11 points from winning positions. So that was a real strength of theirs. You know, they had that strong mentality and they generally ranked in the top 2 or 3 teams in that category. But this season, a big change, and it has been a big problem for them in the title race, and something for Mikel Arteta to address for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Did Arteta have an eye on that Champions League semi-final against Paris Saint-Germain on Tuesday?
I think he probably did, didn't he? I mean, we saw Bukayo Saka only played half an hour. I'm sure in normal circumstances he would have started. And yeah, I think more than the manager, it was probably the players who showed they had a focus on that PSG game, because the performance just lacked the usual intensity, the usual conviction we see from Arsenal. Certainly, it wasn't anything like as good as the performance against Real Madrid, was it? So it was a big change there, and clearly showed that they have bigger priorities, but a real disappointment nonetheless for Arsenal and Mikel Arteta.
Raheem Sterling came in for Bukayo Saka, as Arteta obviously looks to try and manage his minutes. Once again, a bit of an underwhelming performance from Sterling. He's had a real disappointing season, hasn't he?
Yeah, it has been a really difficult loan spell for him, hasn't it? And we can see his record in the Premier League at Arsenal this season here. So that was only his 6th start of the season in the Premier League last night. And as you can see, he has been subbed off in all 6 of those starts. So he's not actually played more than 69 minutes of a Premier League game under Mikel Arteta, which I think says a lot. He's only made 9 substitute appearances. He hasn't scored in the Premier League and 2 assists. So he has had a really difficult time. He's struggled to make an impact. And I think the biggest change has been the lack of playing time. He just hasn't been able to force his way into the team. And that has been a dramatic change from his previous years in the Premier League. So here we have his Premier League minutes broken down in terms of percentages of the possible total he could have played. So at Man City, you see he played over the course of 8 seasons, 71.57% of Premier League minutes. So a huge percentage. He was an absolutely key player there. Now that number dropped at Chelsea, but it was still over 50%, 55.38% at Chelsea over 2 seasons at Stamford Bridge. But then at Arsenal, it has plummeted, hasn't it? So only 15.41% of Arsenal's Premier League minutes played by Raheem Sterling. So he's really struggled to force his way into contention. And when he has got himself on the pitch, he just hasn't been able to take his chances.
Yeah. One man who's finding his mojo again, though, we've got Leandro Trossard. He's coming into a good bit of form, isn't he?
He is, yeah. Another goal for him last night. That's 4 in 4 games, isn't it? And he took it well. A bit of luck with the deflection, but he is so dangerous in those situations in the box, isn't he? So good in tight spaces, able to finish with both feet. And we can see here on the big screen, we'll show you in a moment, that the impact he's had in these last 4 games when he's played as a striker. So Mikel Arteta, of course, has moved him forward into the striker position. And this is how Trossard has done over the course of the 4 games, including last night. So as you can see, only 3 players have played more minutes than him over the course of these 4 games. He scored 4 goals, of course, 2 against Ipswich, another against Everton, as well as the one last night. Expected goals, he's top as well, 1.51. So he has actually overperformed his expected goals quite dramatically, hasn't he? That shows you how good his finishing has been. 13 shots, the most among Arsenal players, 7 of those shots on target, and 29 touches in the opposition box, which is, again, the most of any Arsenal player. And we can show you now how his role has changed, really, in these last 4 games. So here we have his heat maps in the Premier League this season. So these are the first 30 games of the season. You can see he mostly played on that left-hand side in that area. He was very active there, but didn't really get involved elsewhere on the pitch. Now, since moving into the striker position, he has been a lot more active right across the front line. So Arteta has encouraged him to drift and take up different positions. He's getting into the box a lot more, as you can see, and he's popping up on both sides and having a really good impact there, linking the play and getting involved in midfield, as well as making a real difference in the box. So that is one positive for Arsenal from last night, the performance of Leandro Trossard.
Yeah, absolutely. Arsenal have a couple of injury concerns, don't they, ahead of that semi next week. We've got Ben White, Mikel Merino, both not in the squad yesterday. How important is it to get them back, specifically Merino?
I think it is crucial, yeah. And as you say, Merino in particular looks key, doesn't he? We talk about Trossard's impact in that centre-forward role, but Merino has done so well there, hasn't he, since coming in for Kai Havertz. 6 goals and 4 assists in 14 games in all competitions since then. And of course, with Thomas Partey suspended for the first leg, he may be needed in midfield in that game. So Mikel Arteta will be hoping he is available, because he could be a really key player for them. Ben White as well, of course, a really important player. But with Jurriën Timber playing well in the right-back role, you'd probably say Mikel Merino is the most important of the 2 right now.
Right, for more on that game now, as you can see, we're joined by Paul Mercer. Morning to you, Paul. Hi there. As we know, celebrations have been just delayed for Liverpool then, but you'd think only for now.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, Tottenham have got a bigger game next Thursday than the Liverpool game, so I don't see them putting out their strongest team in the world. So for me, yeah, it'll all be done, and I'm quite pleased that it's going to happen at Anfield in front of a packed house, because if Arsenal would have got beat last night and they won it there, why Arsenal were playing, it wouldn't have been the same. And last time they won it, there was no fans allowed. So it'll be an amazing day at Anfield. I don't see anything but Liverpool winning the Premier League this weekend.
Have you been a bit disappointed, though, by the fact that they haven't been pushed further in this race?
A I think it's timings. Arsenal, it's sort of worked out and they're in the Champions League. There's a couple of bad results, but they've been consistent, Liverpool. They're not going to win it with 70 points. Consistent, lost a couple of games. I don't think we give them the credit they deserve. And they've gone along steadily, and everybody else hasn't been able to live with them. So fair play to Liverpool. I think we try to make excuses for everybody else, but I think Liverpool have been very, very consistent this year.
After the game, Jamie Carragher said Arteta would be furious with the result. We saw he didn't look happy either. His point was that if they had won last night, they could have then rested players in the Bournemouth game. That falls, of course, between the two Paris Saint-Germain ties. Do you agree?
I personally, I think that they'll have to just forget about the Bournemouth game. They'll have to forget about it. They've got a massive opportunity. They're not going to finish out the top 5. They're not going to do that. They'll have enough games left. The next 2 games against Paris Saint-Germain are huge. They're absolutely huge. They've got an unbelievable opportunity to win in the Champions League, which they've never done before. So for me, I'd be more disappointed with yesterday's result on the strength of, if we want to win the Premier League, and that is really the aim, really, is to win the Premier League, this is going to happen every season. If you're a good team, you're going to go deep into competitions, into Europe, FA Cups, League Cups, hopefully. You need squad players and you need to perform week in, week out. And I think that would be my worry for Mikel Arteta. His worry would be if we're second in the league and we're 2 points behind, we can't have performances like this. And that's why you have to show so much respect to Man City, what they've done over the last few years of consistently churning out results, winning league titles, going deep in the Champions League, even winning it. So that's what would disappoint Arteta more, is next season they have to be a lot more consistent. It's drifted away in that way, but they could say they put all their eggs into this Champions League now.
What did you make of the starting lineup then from Arteta? I mean, there was no Bukayo Saka, no Ethan Nwaneri. Did this again to show that the focus is well and truly on the Champions League?
Well, yeah, I'm surprised Nwaneri never played, because he won't play in the Champions League game. I'd be shocked if he did. But yeah, I mean, Saka, rested. I thought there'd be a couple more. I just don't see the chance. As I say, these opportunities come along. They don't come along too often. Semi-final, PSG, already beat them in the group stages. The teams in the other side as well. Massive opportunity. I'd have rested a few more players, if I'm being honest. I think if Saliba would have got injured yesterday, I think you could have wrote the Champions League off. They'd have had no centre-half. So for me, I thought he put out a decently strong team, considering how big this game is next Tuesday night.
One player who was given a chance last night, and that was Raheem Sterling. What did you make of his performance, and I guess his time at Arsenal overall?
Yeah, it's hard, Raheem's been playing football all the time, week in, week out. When you're a winger, he's coming in for a game here and a game there. When he comes in, it's not Arsenal's full team. It's less the players playing. Yeah, it's been hard for him. I don't know where he goes from here. That will be up to him. But you need to play football. You need to consistently play week in, week out to get a rhythm. And he's come in games where, they've made changes. So it's not been fluid. It's not been, going through the lines like they do. So for me, I do feel for him in a way. But, I think his time at Arsenal will be up, definitely.
You said that you weren't quite sure where he's going to go, but it does look like he will be on his way out. I mean, he started just 5 Premier League matches so far, limited to this kind of rotational role as well. Where do you think he would want to go in order to gain regular time?
You know what? If I was a Leeds United, I'd be looking at Raheem. Experience. They're a young team, Leeds. They like to play attacking football. He's very good in the dressing room. Good team player. He's got all the experience in the world, won Premier Leagues. For me, that wouldn't be a bad move for Leeds and for Raheem Sterling. Again, going to a massive, huge club. And the expectations are not as high. If they finish 17th in the league next year, Leeds, they pulled up trees. So that wouldn't be a bad one for me. I mean, he's got all the experience in the world. So, yeah, that would be one that would tick the box for me.
No Mikel Merino last night, and Arteta indicated he wasn't ready for this game. I mean, how concerning is that ahead of, next week in Paris Saint-Germain?
You know what? We've got a long time till next Tuesday now. It's a good break. I mean, if he was even half slightly had no chance yesterday, he wouldn't have played. So I think I like what's happened here because so many teams we see in Europe, in Germany and France and Spain, where they put all their league fixtures around the Champions League, and here we don't do that. And probably for the first time for a long time, you know, an English team has got a real nice break before they play this game, which is refreshing. So it'll give him time to get fit. I'm sure he'll be all right to play.
So obviously, focus will turn to Paris Saint-Germain next week. How are you feeling about that tie?
Yeah, I think Arsenal win over 2 legs. I think Arsenal win. I think we still get carried away with the PSG of the first leg against Liverpool when they played at the Stade de France. They were outstanding. I mean, one of the best team performances we've seen this season from anyone. But they still lost the game. They lost that game 1-0. People still forget that. They were outstanding. I thought they were hanging on, absolutely hanging on at Anfield. Then they go and play Villa and they dominated Villa, but scored last kick of the game, which worked out to be a priceless goal in the end to go 3-1 up. And then they went to Villa Park, and at times in that game, it got to stages where you were thinking there's only one winner here, and that's Aston Villa, and they had them on the rack. I think Arsenal have every chance. I'd just slightly go with Arsenal over PSG over 2 legs. I think Arsenal are very disciplined, and I think Arsenal win this.
Now, Mikel Arteta didn't want to be drawn on the future of Thomas Partey. He's been ever present this season. There have been reports he is in talks over a new contract. Is that a positive move?
Yeah, I would say so. It looks like Jorginho's going to go. They need a holding midfield player. I mean, with Partey playing there, he's always been disciplined on the pitch. He played for Atletico Madrid, who are probably one of the most disciplined teams in the world of football. So I think I think he's just getting used to the Premier League. I know he's been here a long while, but I just think he's moving the ball a lot quicker now. When he's got Rice and Odegaard in front of him, I think that helps him immensely. I think I would sign him up again. I would. I think he's just got used to the Premier League and how quick it is and how quickly he has to move the ball. I thought earlier on in his time at Arsenal, he was pretty slow with the ball. Now he's very sharp, and with them two in midfield in front of him, that is a very, very good midfield three.